Hey, Danny McMahon.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, well, we're up.
We're totally up because we're, for the first time, coming from
A bicycle shop from a bike shop. We are,
an actual bike shop.
yeah, from a real functioning bike shop. So,
IRL.
yeah, I think we had talked about doing this. I mean, this has all been a part of our master plan. This is the first time we've been able to actually pull it off. You're off today. It's a special day for you, so you're able to come out here during the week.
Very much.
And
Normally I can't.
yeah, and so we're taking advantage of. Well, I'm actually closed during the week. I'm available only by appointment, very exclusive right now. We're open on the weekends where we have full weekend hours, and we learned that our regulars, the people that actually need something, they just they come on the weekends, and it allowed us to, and we're still in during the week, but sometimes we come in at 2:00. Sometimes it's we're here early, so it allows us to do some things. Oh, look at that! We got a delivery coming. Hey, how are you, man? Oh, we're recording a podcast, so you're going to be on your voice might appear on a podcast. Speedy delivery. That's a Midwest. A Midwest. That's QBP. Thanks, man. Take care. What was your name again?
Dave.
Dave. Yep. Thanks, Dave. You're my new speedy delivery guy, right? Yep. All right. Take it easy. Thank you.
That was cool.
Yes,
I feel like we're in a real shop situation.
that's a shop item. That's
It's a real thing. I'm touching it. I'm not in the metaverse. Like I'm actually touching this.
no. You know what that is? I know
Can I guess? Okay, first of all, there's no weight. It feels like an empty box.
It's one thing.
It's one thing. Can you give me a hint?
It's from Quality Bicycle Parts. So,
And the size of it tells me it's not like stickers or something. It's like decent size.
well, I mean, I think that's the smallest box that they actually ship. So it could be, it could be something.
Oh, it could be anything really small.
Yeah, it could be.
Can I guess decals?
No.
Cable housing?
No. Cable housing would be generally in a big box.
Okay. What hints are you going to give me? Holding a box here,
It's
folks.
it's a crucial part, a small part, a crucial part. It's actually one of the dumbest things that the bicycle industry does.
Is it a hanger?
Yes.
Oh, I guess on the third one.
Yes, it's a hanger, one of 350 hangers that exist in the bicycle industry.
Which, just, for those who maybe don't know what that is, so the hanger is what the rear derailleur attaches to, and it's a little metal piece, usually metal, carbon,
It's aluminum, generally aluminum.
And the rear derailleur, where all your gears are, that screws into the hanger, and you can take them on and off, and they're kind of made to break off if the bike breaks off too. Am I right?
Yeah, they're designed to break.
If the derailleur breaks off,
or bend.
Sorry, I got distracted by a bang. What was that?
I think it was just a vehicle out in the parking
See,
lot.
we're in the wild now. This is real.
This is it. This is real. This is what the people tune in for, Danny.
Yeah, so we got a hanger.
It's a hanger, but a vital piece. If you don't have that,
You're screwed.
Yeah, you are screwed.
And it's super tiny. It's about the length of your, like a pinky finger almost.
Yeah, if you own a bicycle, a modern bicycle of any sort these days, unless it's a steel bike or something made in the
Belt drive or something.
early 90s, mid 90s. If you look back there and you look at the rear derailleur and what that's attached to, you'll see that it's a separate piece from the frame, and it's saved many a frame.
Yeah.
But it's and so it's a good idea, but there's 300 of them. Or over
Right, brand specific, design specific, sometimes model specific.
Yeah.
I actually have a story I won't bother telling because it's not interesting, but I actually got caught out. I traveled with my bike to Austin, and the derailleur snapped off.
Yep.
I failed to either take it off. I can't remember the sitch, but I had to have the owner of the bike company, Van Dessel. He was super cool. I kind of knew him a little bit, and he overnighted me one. So it saved me. But basically, if that breaks off, which they're designed to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, what your case is that ruins many a trip.
Yep.
Or a ride. Because as a bike shop, it's You may carry some of the common ones, some of the ones that are associated with maybe a brand of bicycle that you carry in the shop. So let's say, like I'm a Salsa dealer,
Yeah, you are.
a Cannondale dealer.
You got the salsa.
Yes, and so I have, I have a few of those in stock. Some of the common ones that they call for on some of their bicycles, and a couple of others. There are a handful that are very common, and we're on a mountain bike trail system, so we see a lot. That's a common failure or a problem
Because the derailleur will rip off.
People crash, they break, they bend.
In cyclocross, the derailleur gets all mucked up and they come flying off somewhat regularly. So
Yeah, but if you can't find that piece, then you're screwed.
you literally cannot ride the bicycle.
No, and then you have to order the piece.
You have the rear mech, the derailleur just kind of hanging off, and it could actually, well, in worst case situations, I guess it could get into the spokes and really mangle a lot of stuff up, assuming.
Yeah, at that point, it's a bigger problem than just a derailleur hanger issue. But to make a long story short, this is for a repair, and usually I wouldn't just order, an item like that,
Like a one-off.
one little bit.
May I order one hanger, please? Because the stamp, well, how much do hangers cost?
Those are retail about $30 or
Is
so.
it 30? Wow.
Yeah.
I remember there was a pro one time. I want to say it was Zdenek Stybar, the great cyclocross star, 2-time world champ, and then he went to the road. Anyway, I swore it was him. I could probably find it. He was tweeting, "Has anyone got a hanger for this bike?" He was probably on a Specialized, but he was traveling, and he same situation I had. He opened up the box, and the hanger had snapped off. It was snapped in two, and he didn't have a backup.
Yeah.
And he was in some place where he couldn't get one. So, of course, cycling Twitter is like, yeah, we'll send you one. So there you go.
Yeah, if you are, if you are a mountain biker, or anybody really, but especially people who mountain bike or maybe cyclocross, it's a good idea to have one of those things handy, like an extra one. Just throw it in your bag, repair bag, your toolbox. Have it in, and if you're traveling at all, it's one of those things that you want to have handy, especially if you're mountain biking. Road guys, for on the road, it's not something that not a common failure on the road,
Right.
But if you're mountain biking, it's definitely something. And the more exotic your bike is, the crazier your bike is, for sure.
Yeah, I actually would recommend anyone who's traveling just keep it in their permanent travel bag.
You know what you should do
Just
is
throw it in there and leave it in the zipper.
get yourself a gold chain and put it around your neck. It'd be a really interesting piece of jewelry. Conversation. The conversations could be amazing.
You could pick up a new nickname. I was thinking of 2 Chainz. You could have Hanger Boy.
Yeah, something like
that.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's because I'm OCD or wary of these things. I actually pretty much, whenever I order a bike or buy a bike, not that it happens a lot, I always get the hanger that goes with it as like the extra piece.
It's probably because it happened to you
Yes.
once. You've experienced that issue.
And it's funny because I was kind of almost doing that before that, but that trip for some reason I didn't. Just didn't have a checklist. But anyway, I don't think it's something most people need to worry about unless you, like you said, are doing mountain biking, cross, or if you do a lot of road and maybe travel. But those little things that could screw.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're a day or two. If you're lucky, you can't ride and.
Oh, and these days even worse, because of just, being able to get things, and the more exotic your bike is, if you've got, a Yeti or a BMC, those aren't real common brands. So you're definitely not going to walk into a bike shop and just randomly find that unless they're a dealer. And maybe even then, they might not have the one that you want. I've gone as far as like pulling them off of, if you're cool to me,
Right.
If you're nice,
You'll bend over backwards.
I've helped people out. I've pulled them off of bicycles
Sure.
In order to help people out.
That's cool.
And maybe even from
Oh.
a customer's bike.
Okay.
Help somebody in a really bad pinch.
I can imagine, Joe, if one were, say, I don't know, in some exotic location, like on a cycling trip, like Spain, Alicante.
Yes.
And you were like, oh, my hanger broke en route, or I forgot to take it off the frame when I traveled.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not something that people even. I mean, I pack a lot of bikes. I rarely take the actual hanger off. I may
Right.
detach the derailleur,
Right.
but the hanger itself.
Yeah.
I never. I've got to say, I've never gone that far where I'm actually taking the hanger off.
I think I've only done that once or twice. Maybe it was with a cross bike because it was just easier for some reason. But you know what's funny too is, and you know about this better than I do, but the bike boxes have come a long way. Like, do you know like what I'm talking about? Like the Canyon. Have you seen the bike boxes that Canyon uses? Yeah. And I think Trek as well now, and maybe some other brands like the Pros Closet.
Yeah.
They have these like pretty nifty. They're just cardboard boxes, but they've got them kind of designed so it was kind of like a for lack of a better word, a wheel rack. It kind of slides in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen various versions of that. You know, there's even some like triangular shaped boxes that some bike companies use.
It helps protect the bike. In this case, it'll almost 100% for sure protect the rear derailleur because the way they have the little wheel well, you kind of slot you take off the front wheel, put in the bike with the rear wheel on. You don't even have to touch it, and it slots right in. And there's this like several layers of like thick cardboard right around it. So you know it's nearly.
But it's for that specific. The problem is they're fairly specific to the bike or the size of bike or the type.
They're totally specific. So you could probably MacGyver one yourself, but
the double boxing. I mean, I've done that. You know, it's two different bikes. You know, basically a bike box inside of a bike box or cut.
I thought you were going to say like a cool reference.
No.
Missed opportunity. That's where we are. We're at.
Look. Here comes another bike. Can you help that gentleman?
Should I?
Yeah, help him, please.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Talk to a young man, probably you.
Oh, yeah, or this guy.
About fixing a...
Wow, there's actual bicycle business going on right now.
Oh, okay.
There's a gentleman bringing in a kid's bike. And there appears to be a brake issue on a little kid's bike, like a 12-inch wheeled bike, 16-inch wheel bike. And Danny's helping him right now.
All right, we got a front brake.
He's checking that out.
All right.
And hold on a second. Hey, Danny, can you grab the gentleman's name and number? And we will call him as soon as that's ready to go.
Okay.
And we'll have it ready for him later on today. How about that?
Yeah.
Look at this. He's going.
Yeah, well, no, we got to. You're on our podcast. You're on the air.
I'm the happiest customer in the world.
Oh, gee. Well, we haven't fixed your bike yet. So, some actual business happening here at the bicycle shop. There's Danny returning to,
What's that?
This one, I love it.
kid's bike. Danny going back to his roots of working in a bike shop, probably officially working.
Is it the Ryan kid?
So this is something that we.
No, this guy's got a bajillion followers.
Oh, does he?
Lippy.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to tap into his conversation and focus on the podcast, and I've got to disconnect from one. So
California, Utah.
it's 50 degrees here in the Chicagoland area right now, and so people are coming out. As we mentioned before, we have kind of weekdays by appointment, but we've been answering the phone today because people have been calling, and now they're coming in. We thought it'd be kind of a cool thing in the podcast, and little did I know how much of a distraction this is going to be. But
Influencing my 3-year-old.
yeah, we'll roll with it.
Real story.
So
Thank you, sir.
Starting to influence.
there you go. We'll just let this
We'll
roll.
give you a call back in a few hours.
Hey, thank you very much. We'll give you a ring in a little bit.
Tony, what time are we open till, Joe?
Wow, we're open until we fix your bicycle. How about that?
I like the way you...
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Because you're on your podcast, you gotta like something.
No. This is the way we are. Take care.
Thanks.
We'll see ya.
Wow, that I was transported there, Joe, back to like working in cyclesmithy.
That's what I mentioned. I mentioned that to.
I got a little nervous.
I mentioned that to our listeners until I was trying to I was trying to listen to your conversation and trying to hold a conversation with our
Yes.
listeners, and I got completely. I
noticed that.
I don't know if
I say we leave it in.
yeah, I'm totally leaving it in.
Well, you know what? It was funny because after speaking to him for a second, you could tell he was like a cool, laid back guy. But at first, you're not sure. So I didn't want to be like jokey, like we're in the podcast and he comes in like, some people, they can be a little bit tense and
Sure. I like
they're like,
that.
are you helping me?
Tense is good.
So I didn't want to like piss off your customers.
No. You know what? Tension is good in radio, in
Great.
in podcasting, in life. Really, a little bit of tension and some insecurity means that you're doing something right. Probably,
Yeah.
Too comfortable. That means you're not pushing your limits, Danny.
That makes sense to me. So this guy brought in this little kid's bike
It's
and
a tiny,
even
store-bought kids bike.
very tiny. It goes up to about my kneecap and it's called Blippi, Blippi. And it's light blue, like a sky blue with like an orange saddle, chain guard, and grips. And then it has a picture, an illustration, like a cartoon illustration of who I guess is Blippi on the head tube. And he's wearing like an orange cap. And I guess, the customer was explaining, I don't know if you heard, but apparently Blippi is a YouTube influencer
No way.
who has millions of followers. And he kind of gets into everything, including going to places and, giving tours for like his YouTube audience. And then also has this bike, according to this gentleman. So
Is it a cartoon character or is it a?
I think
like
he's a
human
real-
being? It's a human being.
I think
named
we'll
Blippi?
have to look it up. He's a real guy, apparently.
Really.
But I guess he's an influencer. And
That's what we want to be, Danny. We want to be influencers.
all the worlds
don't we?
just collided there. We went from like digital influencers into our
This is like
little IRL bike shop.
And this gentleman, oh my God, there's a, wow, it's a gentleman. It's a man, and he wears orange suspenders. And hold on a second. Let's see. All right, I am really going to push the limits of our technical prowess here.
See the head tube?
There's a guy. There is a. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. This is.
It's a sick little bike. It's really cool. Oh, now that I could see the other half of the bike, the cap he's wearing is half like blue or purple, and the other half is orange. But I think the bell's on backwards. The tires are pretty flat. It has training wheels, and the gentleman wants to make sure the front brake works.
Really?
So there's only one brake, and it must have a coaster. Let me check. Yeah, it's got a coaster brake too.
It does. Interesting.
Well, that was a IRL interaction. I was a fake employee for a minute there.
No, you're not fake. You're very much an employee at the moment. I see what you're doing there with the name of the bike shop. I'm gonna beep those out.
Why? You need to embrace this.
I'm gonna continue to have people just try to figure out who we are.
I didn't mean to do it there. Actually,
no,
that was
yeah.
just natural.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Hopefully our listeners have been paying attention.
I was going to say, well, the tens of listeners. It could be the ones
the
of listeners.
tens
Or the ones.
We're very big in Belgium right now. Shout out to our friends in Belgium. We have some people in Asturias.
Kleinbätchen. What's the? There's this like expression that you hear a lot when you listen to the Belgian bike race commentators. And I don't speak Flemish or Belgian of any kind, but Kleinbätchen is like this. I think there's like a meme and there's like a Twitter handle for it, and it's just kind of like actually Instagram handle. So they kind of play around with a lot of the Belgian themed cycling things, from everything from Stroop waffles to your triple beers and your bike racing, all that kind of stuff. So I do want to know about that stat you found. So how did you get? First of all, did you have to search that, or was it like an alert you got? Like, you're ranked, or we're in the top 200?
It was an email that I received, from
One of the services you use?
Yeah, from the service. They just they now that I'm signed up with this service, I think I'm probably put on some mailing lists and things like that. and we're made aware of what, where we're trending and, where things are exploding for us, Danny.
It's like the Google alert system almost.
Yeah, and apparently, for some reason in Belgium, there's whispers going on in the Peloton, the pro Peloton about us, or I don't know. Maybe
Cavendish is dropping our handle.
I like to think there's some dude out there in a bike shop who's just like, he's loving it, man. Trying to study his English, maybe learn something about, get some insights into the United States cycling scene.
Chomping on a Stroop waffle.
Mm-hmm. Something.
Yeah.
Having going off for a ride.
Yeah, just, riding behind Eddie Merckx.
Yeah.
I think Eddie still rides. Yeah.
Is he still riding a bike?
I believe so. He was up until a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
I thought he had a fall. Obviously, when you're in your older years, it's even more of a risk.
Uh-huh. Yeah, especially, a guy like him. I mean, he's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, but I think he did have a fall. It wasn't super bad, but I think he went into the hospital. And I think separately he was in for, I think he had, I don't want to make this up, but I swore it was him that he had a little bit of a heart thing. And they just wanted to be careful, so they had him in for a little bit. But I remember that was kind of like a news thing for a few days. But he was okay. He's fine.
Yeah? Oh, he knows how to fall.
But I believe I believe he does still ride.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. I ran into him a couple of times at Interbike and some of the various, he used to attend some of the various bicycle fairs. And, there were a few years of Fat Eddie this was 20 years ago. This was before he was, he was the statesman he is now. But
his Jan Ulrich years, his Fat Elvis years.
There was a fat Eddie
not
Merckx.
Taking care of business, baby.
Not. But it's good to hear that he's riding a bike now.
Yep.
That's trying to get back on it.
I have a couple of friends who've been involved in different kind of projects and editorial projects and things like that. And long story short, they've gone over and they've done some things where Eddie will be like the guest of honor. I know he does a lot of that, of course. And he shows up to like these lunches and there's like whatever little dinners, and he'll show up and it's like a lot of media, but then they'll have like some other VIPs, usually around the Spring Classics time. Flanders, Roubaix, all these big races. And he would come out and then they would usually do a ceremonial ride over maybe like a section of the course or ride somewhere. And it was like kind of a photo op, but he would, he was going out and doing like legit kilometers. It wasn't like he was riding, around a parking lot.
A lot of, and I'm surprised that a lot of those guys do, they'll put in some miles in some of these fondos and things, they'll do 100K. They might not do the whole ride. In some cases,
right.
Some of the older guys, they won't do the entire ride, but they're still able to like pump out 100K, and it's, as we know, most of Europe is not flat. Like anytime a European tells you that it's a flat ride or a flat race, don't believe them because
it's at least lumpy and rolling.
Yeah, at the very least.
They'll have those little bergs, those tight little, super short, but very steep and cobbled climbs. And if it's wet, I mean,
what I learned in Spain was that there was no maybe there wasn't a mountain involved, but there was always some climbing, some, out of the saddle, huffing and puffing that was going to occur,
I agree 100%. There is no real flat, unless you're like maybe in the Netherlands, but even then.
We don't care about those people. They're not listening to us.
Well, they don't really ride bikes. They're not really good at bikes.
No, those big, heavy, big heavy bikes. Yeah, sure. Hold on a second.
Yep.
I found something. I found Blippi.
Oh, okay.
And Blippi.
Give us the download.
Blippi has a bike song. Blippi.
Oh, can you play it?
Hold on. Let's see if we can do this. Hold on. Hey, this is catchy.
Kind of like ours, almost. Not really.
Well, he's got 15 million.
But it's got that digital throwback vibe almost.
This yellow bike will take us around tonight. Oh, what a beautiful day at the Quarry Pool. Exploring the city is oh so cool. So many sights to see on the bicycle. We can travel free.
You know what?
Look at all the
Love it.
scenery, feel the forest air.
Dude, that's pretty legit. It kind of sums up my.
I wanna see where we
That kind of sums up a lot of my rides, really.
this bicycle.
Freedom, free.
I wanna ride it down every road. Wanna
Danny, I'm gonna get you some. I'm gonna get you some suspenders.
Like a Castro.
He's doing some wacky dancing right now, like like bad break dancing. And
So is it a real dude or is it a cartoon animation dude?
no, it's a real guy. Look at him.
Oh, wow.
keep your legs.
Oh, so he's one of those like adults who does like kids content?
They're weird.
I was going to
Weirdo.
say, it's a little weird.
Weirdo.
Pee Wee Herman vibes.
I'm gonna turn it off now because I think we can only play so much on the podcast.
I was going to
but-
say, aren't you allowed like 15, 30 seconds?
Yeah, the government or
I mean, we're well listened to, so someone's going to probably flag it.
you know what? Maybe Blippy will come after us. That would be good publicity for us because he has 15 million subscribers. 15 million subscribers.
That's very legit. That's a little bit more than we've got.
Although he's singing about a yellow bike and that bike is blue.
Yeah, what's up with
I
that?
don't know. It's a little bit of a discount. They are his colors. So he wears a light blue shirt and he's got orange suspenders.
Just like the little bike here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we can I have a photo, but if you want to take a photo, or actually I'll have to get a photo. I was thinking of the other little kid's bike. There are a lot of kids' bikes around here. We should put it on the gram or at least a gram story.
Yeah. So I guess we got to start turning those on, the socials, as they say in the business.
I mean,
world.
whatever. I don't care.
No.
You're
I
the
mean,
maestro.
No, I think that I purposely haven't made any attempt to populate that stuff just because, quite frankly, Danny, I was waiting for the show to get a little bit better.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
we've been working on things.
Yep.
And, why make noise about something that we're not,
I feel you.
that's a kind of a work in progress, So, but I think we're kind of getting there. I think this Blippy hunk might, I think the Blippy thing might have some traction. I think people are going to pass this around. Maybe he hears about us making fun of him, and I would love to see a Blippy, just a takedown, or maybe we get him on the podcast.
A diss. What's it called when they do like a diss record or a diss song? Remember Eminem did like a big diss.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe it'll be a diss situation. You know what he reminded me of for a second was like Mario Brothers, like just his get up. He kind of looked like that from a distance. But I don't know. I was digging that song. I think the lyrics were pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, what I thought was that we would probably take on Blippy.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we could do something a little bit cooler than that. I can have a beat maker in the family.
There you go.
You're a writer. You can be a lyricist. I mean, really, what is a rap song except for some words put to music?
True. You could do some beatboxing.
Yeah, get your.
You're better than the guy from Police Academy.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what his name was.
So do
yeah.
I. But we all know.
No, I know who you're. Yeah, I know.
He was amazing. Well, that was cool. So I had an IRL interaction with one of your customers.
Yeah.
He'll be back later. You'll hook him up.
Yeah. I got to adjust some brakes. I guess once we get done with the podcast, I have a bicycle repair
Pump up
waiting
those
for me.
tires.
Mm-hmm. Is that what he wanted? What did he want?
I believe the bell is backward, but I could be wrong. I'll need your expert opinion.
So air in the tires. We got to fix a little bell.
Check the front brake just to make sure it's good.
That's what he.
I think it might need a tad of a tweak,
So that is the typical. That is a common thing in the bike shop, right?
which you can do in about 18 seconds.
But I mean, it's still some work. But that is a very common thing in the bike world, right? I will get a phone call, and the person will say, all I need is a brake adjustment. They come in, give me the bike. I'm like, yeah, come on in. If it's just a brake adjustment, no problem. I can probably get it done. I have a lot of things going on, but it's a little kid who wants to ride. I'll adjust your brake. Then the bike comes in, and the fender is backwards. The bell is backwards. You got to put air in the tires. Oh, can you check this? And the list. Then there's a list that they hand you. I'm like, well, what happened to the brake? So we've learned a couple of things there. Hangers, that situation right there, and that's a typical one.
Yep.
That's why I kind of, on the phone, I'm like, well, if it's just the brake and it's just
Huge asterisk.
and it's a simple adjustment, I can have it for you today.
It's like all the trigger words, the go-to words, the red flag terms.
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's just this.
As soon as
The
they
word
say
just, forget about it.
there is a term in the bike world, the JRA.
Oh,
It's maybe not as common these days, but
JRA. So
JRA.
just routine, just regular, just.
What do you do with a bike?
Just repair.
No.
Just
What do you
just
do?
ride. Just ride anything.
No. Close.
Just
close.
ride.
Just riding along.
Just riding along.
That is, we're going to start tracking. I'm going to try and keep track of how many times that is said at the bicycle shop this summer.
So in other words, like I didn't get it at first, but it means like I was just riding along and I was wondering.
Yes. ...
JRA.
JRA.
Did you look at this? It's not the gears. Like it's making a noise. Like car talk.
Yeah. Just riding along.
What I just realized that I don't know if I fully appreciated because the shops we worked in were kind of like higher end, if I could say that. Whereas this is more of like a full service. Anyone can come in here with any kind of bike.
Well, even at that high end shop, what we sold was maybe high end, but down in the repair department, right down.
See,
in the
I didn't
repair
hang there
department,
much.
I used to. I did a lot of stuff in the repair. Business, in the repair department.
With Earl and Kelly.
Yeah, we.
Mark.
There at the old cycle smithy, we fixed everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was kind of the at cycle smithy or at when I was at Turin, it was definitely had a little bit more of a high end vibe. A little bit, there were times when maybe now I was a young guy working at the bike shop, and I was always like I would have to, some of the mechanics at times were a little snobby about what they worked on. But I would always like run outside and with an Allen wrench or something and do a quick adjustment on some messenger's bike or a homeless guy's bike, that maybe there wasn't room to work on that day.
Just keep it real and like, what can I do to get you moving? And
yeah. But at Cycle Smithy, we didn't really turn anybody away. There was nothing that.
No, I actually, in all seriousness,
one of my employees is coming in.
Oh, what do we do?
He can come in. Come on in. Oh, look at it.
We have
one of my employees is coming into the shop. He hasn't been here all winter. Come on over.
Hey, man.
What's going on? Bike shops kind of rely on. I rely on some help in trying to lure friends over on the weekends when they're not doing anything or hopefully not doing anything. And Ryan has been he's been here along for the ride for a long time.
I remember him
10 years
ago.
Probably 10 years. And he started the way that many person starts at the bike shop.
Riding by?
Nope. Just
riding along?
came in for something. And then, like you come here long enough, then you just start working here because you know where everything is at. So Ryan's been gone most of the winter, but that's pretty typical of winter, just there's nothing.
Do you miss the shop,
going on?
I'm here now.
Yeah, he's here. That's a good
answer.
Thing. You can get a little bit closer to the mic.
You can come over.
Yeah.
But what I was going to get back to real quick there was...
I'll leave it open. We're having... People are stopping by.
We're keeping it real. Mm-hmm. What I was going to get to earlier, though, was it dawned on me that it's a business of, like you said, it's not a specific... How to put it? It's not a specific service request. People aren't coming in like, build this bike. I mean, I'm sure you get that, but it's a lot of this like gray area, slippery slope almost like, hey, I think I just need a brake adjustment. Can I pop in? And then you realize there are 2, 3, 4, 5 other things going on. And what I'm trying to say is like, is that tricky to manage? Because like, if you get 12 or 24 of those, all of a sudden your productivity and like you got deadlines for other service bikes. I mean, that must be kind of a pain almost. Like, how do you deal with it?
I've picked up some really bad habits from old bosses where I say yes to everything.
Oh, you're a yes man.
Well, I just try to. I've worked at shops both ways, and I've worked with different people both ways. There are shops where it's like 2 weeks for a flat tire, whatever it
Wow.
is. They're just like whatever it is. They're very rigid. The schedule, whatever the schedule
Right.
says, that's it.
Gotcha.
We don't really have room for a lot of walk-in stuff. We don't have. Maybe there's days where they do spot repairs. They might be able to do stuff on the spot. And so I do try to knock all of that stuff out because, one, I don't have the space to be housing a lot
was
of
gonna
bikes.
say,
I
yeah.
like to turn stuff around, but I also just like to get people on the road. It's pretty obvious. We're in a spot where people ride by and people are riding.
Just riding along.
And yes. And
You took him really well. You were respectful, but you were like, yeah, come back later and we'll have it. And he was happy.
yeah, because I'm happy to help them out. And
We're
it's
kind
like,
of recording. We're doing our thing. And
we got something going on. I mean, in the past when I first opened, I would have like dropped everything and just done that break.
Yeah.
Desperate for $15 or $20.
yeah.
But so I've learned along the way to manage that a little bit better. I also learned that people are cool with waiting. As long as you do a good job, they'll come back. I come back. And I use myself as an example. I wait for if it's somewhere good. If their work is really good, I'll wait.
You'll wait.
Yeah, I got a car mechanic right now and can't do something for me. He's like, I'm super tied up, maybe in a month, and I'm like, happy to wait a month.
Right.
Or he'll send me to somebody who somebody who can, if it's an emergency. Those
Yeah.
guys usually have a friend or somebody. But
Hey, Ryan, I think you should come over and
yeah, get on
spit on the mic.
Get on his. He can share the mic with you. You stay there too.
I'll stay.
Yeah. What's up? What are you doing? Get up there. Get on the mic, man. What's up, Ryan? How are you, man?
Good. Just got back from
Get up a little bit closer. You got to get on the mic.
working.
You're working today?
Yeah.
Ryan is an electrician, a union electrician. Means he's pulling in the big bucks. And where are you working at right now, Ryan?
All over the place.
But right now, like downtown Chicago, suburbs?
Joliet.
In Joliet, south of here. And what are you doing over there? What are you working on? You don't have to say the building or anything, but is it a school or a...
I mean, if I tell you, I kind of give it away.
It's a place where they ship a lot of stuff out of for people that are buying stuff online?
Not at all.
Okay.
Is it a place that featured in Blues Brothers?
No, it's
The car races? They do car races there? Well, there's a racetrack in Joliet.
Maybe a hospital?
say sometimes you got to check in.
Check in. You got to check in. Do you check out too?
If all goes well.
If you check all the boxes.
Go ahead and say it. What are they going to do? Sue us?
I don't know.
What?
It's a new correctional facility extension.
Oh, not a jail.
I was kind
It's a jail.
I was kind of right.
Yeah, that's right. Joliet Jake, Blues Brothers. Yeah, you were right on the. You were
I was getting warm.
get up there a little bit too. You got to.
I was getting warm, but it's not the same place. It's a different venue than the famous prison. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a different
Okay.
spot.
I heard they shoot. Well, they used to do a lot of shooting at the prison, like filming. It was It was a set for a lot of
They did
prison
that
movies and shows.
They did Breakout or Break In. It was like in the last 10 years there was a big like a series that shot there. Something based here in Chicago. Oh, that's good, man. So you're back in the area. You're good.
Like 2 weeks ago, I was out of town, but hopefully I'm back in the city tomorrow. So
Ugh. Well, that's all right. At least it's work. You're just wrapping stuff up, right? Because you have the same difficulties as the bike world where you can't get stuff.
it's all like start this job, go as far as you can, and then just come back and like when you get stuff, come back and finish it up.
That's what's if you look above my head right now, it's a lot of bikes like that are just waiting for a random part or a couple of random parts,
Now, I have a brother who's a plumber, and I know Chicago's an old city, so it's kind of a great place to be a plumber. What about for an electrician? Is it a good place or what? Like Burbs City, doesn't matter? A lot of work?
I'll go wherever they send me.
Ryan does low voltage electricity, so a lot of keypads and security systems, televisions, broadcast stuff.
I
You
got
probably could have helped us with the setup today.
Yeah.
Our wires wouldn't be all over the place and scattered. They'd be nicely tied together and have some cool twist ties and things to hide everything
Could you
with.
do the more hardcore stuff if you needed to? Are you trained for that or licensed or what? Like can you just I don't know, do a
Like
whole
put it in a
house,
panel,
a
like
brand new house?
No, I don't touch the high voltage stuff.
It's only stuff that he can test with his tongue, Danny.
Oh, right. Reminds me of your nipple test.
Yes.
Poke your finger in there, you get stuck.
It's like
We just put a lot of imagery out there.
a 9-volt battery type electricity,
Oh, like you put it on your tongue. When
Yeah, to see if it's working. You ever do that?
Oh,
You ever, yeah.
That's why I'm like I am.
Just
Or you say, hold this.
you do it just for fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how we entertained ourselves back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have Fortnite.
No. Oh, we made it out alive. We didn't have anything. We didn't have those outlet plugs. Those safety things. We could have put our tongue. We could have made out with an outlet. Might not be here anymore.
You want a little story real quick? It's when we're living on 91st Street,
That's in Oak Lawn,
which is
Illinois.
actually when I first met you or saw you.
Yes.
The first vision, the 1st appearance, you were riding by in your pink DeRosa. And I was like, who's that exotic creature?
Oh, thank you.
And it was in that house. So we had some flooding. My dad had built that house. We were living in it.
Oh, wow.
So it had a sub-basement, a finished sub-basement, and I ended up having a bedroom down there. And,
Oh, you know what? Can you call that guy real quick? Tell him I want that pallet. Just tell him.
Ryan's on it.
Okay. Yeah, just tell him to leave it.
He's an electrician, but now he's working with wood.
Yeah, he's probably there. You go. So there was somebody walking by our front window, and I think he's making his way to the garbage with a pallet. And I'm going to build a compost bin
Oh, very good.
using old pallets.
I was going to say your house is perfect for that because you have a huge backyard. Your wife has beautiful gardens.
And I was checking out a YouTube video. I actually built a couple of compost bins, but I'm going to build another one. I've really gotten into composting lately.
That's pretty cool.
It's kind of a neat hobby. It's garbage.
Right.
And
Total garbage.
But it's awesome because it becomes dirt. And I use it for my garden. It's very sad.
Kind of like manure.
Strangely satisfying that my banana peels and egg
Egg whites?
or
Or the shells.
the shells
Yeah.
become dirt.
Right.
And, they feed my tomatoes in the summer.
So it flooded and...
Oh, sorry,
there were-
you had a story going.
No, there
on
was
about
like,
your dad's house.
It might have been at least a foot of water, maybe 2. It was like massive, serious flooding. And the sub pump broke, and my dad goes. So we're taking the stairs down into the sub basement, and my dad wades into the water in the sub basement, and I'm on the stairs. He gives me the end of the cord, and he's like, "Plug this in." And I'm like, okay, I didn't realize kind of what was happening. I was pretty young. And he goes, one thing. He goes, Denny, if I get electrocuted, unplug it because I won't be able to talk. True story.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that's a verbatim quote.
Wow.
I remember it. to
I
this
won't
day.
be able to talk.
He's like, I won't be able to talk. He was from the south of Ireland, so he had a brogue. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, is this for real? Like, I was freaking out because am I going to see my father die?
But he was serious about it.
Oh, he was 100% serious.
No, it's only 110. It's not European 240. It's just 110, man.
And sure enough, yeah, everyone survived.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But did you have to?
But I freaked out for a good good bit there because I thought, well, yeah.
Well, we grew up, seeing the whole toaster in the, in the bathtub thing, that whole thing.
Oh yeah, the hair dryer.
Yeah,
But
apparently.
if you bring toasters into your bathroom show, that's cool. I can accept that.
Yeah, well,
Whatever you're into. I definitely have seen those little. Remember those infamous toaster ovens? Mm-hmm. They were always going up. You would hear about them.
oh, the little ones.
They had the little glass door. You kind of pull it open and you put your bread in there or whatever. And those were infamous.
a countertop toaster.
I want to say I don't know if they banned them, but
I think they were called.
what were they called?
Oven toasters?
Yes,
oven toaster, an oven toaster.
as opposed to the stand-up.
Wow, you know what? This is taking on a barstool sports feel to it, where we just have people chiming
Oh,
in
no.
from the gallery.
Is that what we want?
I don't know. Something the bike shop version of that maybe. It's a little bit cooler, a little hipper. Man, we could talk Echo and the Bunnymen here, and maybe some. Cycling. It's an exotic European sport. Maybe we could talk a little bit about men's floor gymnastics because they like all that obscure stuff in Europe.
Curling.
Yeah, curling. Curling is almost like it's almost like a waxed mustache here in the kind of
yes.
a hipstery. It's like, oh, let's go. It's
like wife throwing.
Axe throwing, all that stuff.
Log
it's like,
carrying.
yeah, it's almost so obscure that it's become cool.
Right.
To be into it.
Right. Like composting.
That I'm guilty.
See what I did there?
I'm guilty of composting, Danny, and I proudly admit to it. And like I said, it's become something that I enjoy.
I think
now.
you should go for it. Our neighbors do it, and they have like this bucket, and I forget what it says, but it's some brand and some company. I think they come and pick it up or something. It's out on the stoop every once in a while.
That's hipster composting.
That's hipster because you got to pay, right?
Yeah, well, I think some places do it for free. I know in the city, like there are people that have arrangements with restaurants and things like that. Like some community gardens will go and pick up your coffee grounds and things like that.
I think it's great. I'm all for it.
It's really everything. My garbage is really my garbage. It consists of primarily plastics, like packaging.
Do you recycle a lot? See, we're pretty good about recycling.
Yeah, I just
I was just going to say to that, Chicago compared to when I was living in New York, is maybe getting a little better, but was usually a lot worse. In New York, they have some stuff like better organized. They have like 3 or 4 different tanks. Those like our banks rather when you go in and you deposit your bottles and cardboard. And
like in Europe where they have the big round.
Yeah, exactly. And they even would have some for electronics.
Yep.
Your old cables. Everyone's got that drawer full of dongles and cables and. Anyway, I try to be very fastidious about recycling because I always feel so guilty. I know that sounds really precious.
No, it's okay. You know what? I'm past that point. I absorb the guilt every time I dump a piece of plastic in there because I've watched all those
very Catholic of you, Joe.
Well, I've watched all of those documentaries and I've watched a lot about how our recycling system in this country really is not very efficient.
Oh, it's not. I have no illusions.
And I also know that I think as a bike shop, and I think I can speak for many a bike shop because I know a lot of bike shops and I've worked at other bike shops. We generate a lot of garbage. I know what goes into the garbage, and it's like tires and just plastics and all the there's 1,000 zip ties on every bike that shows up, it's foam.
This is bumming me out.
And it's okay. It's better to be aware. I think it's better just to be aware of it because I think we're just in trouble, Danny.
I'm gonna do some research on this and get back to you. I think I'm gonna help you improve your
That's fine if you want
efficiencies.
And I'm down for it. If somebody I do have people that come and pick up some cardboard. I have had people on and off that I try to recycle tubes for.
I was going to say tubes is a big one, and then also the carbon frames. I know that you don't truck in a lot of carbon frames per se, but that's obviously an industry issue. And I know like some big companies like I think Trek and some others have tried to come up with initiatives to limit. But I don't know a lot lot like what they're doing.
At the same time, they're putting batteries in
batteries in
bicycles.
That's the thing, though. But it's like, where do you? I mean, that's actually a fascinating topic that we should have someone on when we start having regular hosts for interviews. I would genuinely like to talk to someone about that because at some point you have to like start somewhere. Yeah. And as a spinoff from that, you just reminded me of there was a pro. His name was Dan Timmerman. And he was a high-level pro. He raced road for quite a while, and then he transitioned to cyclocross full-time. And he raced for Stan's No Tubes. I'm not sure if he still does. Like me, he's a little bit older, but he was like a high-end domestic pro, and he was a very interesting guy. I actually did a story on him for Business Insider, where he basically lives off the grid with his wife, and they have like a cabin, and it's somewhere in New England. I want to say in somewhere upstate New York, perhaps somewhere like that. And they compost like crazy. They they're off the grid, so they don't have electricity. They have something that they use. I don't know if it's a generator or something, but they do have some electricity because I think they do have internet access and some of this kind of stuff. But the point is, he at some point said, you know what? I think he took a break from racing or quit, mainly because he hated the carbon footprint from all the travel.
Sure.
So he was like a full-time pro in the U.S., and he was traveling. He was on a plane. He was in buses, vans, all that kind of stuff half the year. And it kind of got to him because he's obviously very conscientious.
Yeah.
And he's very aware. And, it really got to him. And he's like, it bummed me out. And I just hated to see. It's that weird paradox where it's like, yes, you're on a bike.
Yeah.
You're not a car. So you're not polluting that way, but in other ways you are.
Yeah.
And it really got to him. And I just found it very interesting. If anyone wants to see where he lives, you can search for Dan Timmerman off the grid. But he was an interesting guy.
If our country does it, let's say, look at some of the countries in the world that are doing it right now. Some of the really advanced, forward-thinking countries. And I'm talking about the countries that are very advanced as far as recycling and being good to the earth and, really practicing what they preach. I'm very familiar with Spain. They're much better about water conservation and recycling. They have the bins. People there really buy into the system. The
100%.
Society really buys into them.
I think the EU has been really good for that.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not an expert on it, but I believe that the combined influence of the EU, because I know that they have a lot of laws and they have a lot of power. And a lot of these countries, I know when Ireland came onto the EU, they got a lot of money and they all of a sudden had beautiful roads and all this stuff. But there was also a trade-off. You also have to limit
environmental laws.
You have to limit this. You have to limit that. Anyway, it's a big topic, but I know that, Joe, you can be an influencer for your friends and family. And you're already a compost influencer.
I do. I do. I mean, I do. I do. I pick up garbage. I try to. I really do try to be good about certain things. But if you want to take plastic, I'm down with taking away plastic packaging.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. We don't have a better system.
Yeah. Say you know what? Eliminate plastic bottles. I'm cool with that. But it needs to be something much bigger. It has to be at a governmental level, and a whole, it has to involve the entire society. It just can't, I think, it's very difficult to want to do the right thing and then see a million people counteracting all the good thing that you're trying to do.
When I sold my car, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't like my primary reason for selling it. Like, I want to help the environment. I mean, I do. Yeah. And I tried to drive a car that was good on gas and all that kind of stuff, of course. But point being that it was just more of a practical matter because I was living in the city where I still live. I would bike a lot. I walked a lot. I'm one of those weird people that will walk 10 miles down Clark on a summer day.
Well, you're one of the weird Americans that walks.
Yeah, like bizarro. If you walk in the suburbs, they think you're like you escaped from prison.
Yeah, well, it's actually difficult.
It is. I saw someone today jogging, actually just at the bridge here.
Yeah.
And she was going, how do you explain it? First of all, she was running against traffic, which I think is what you're supposed to do. But that's a busy street.
And she was in the street because there's no sidewalk.
Along the curb. And as I was passing her, she was at the entrance of the parking lot into the gas station. So she kind of was able to go in for like a hot second right when I went by. And I kind of moved over a little bit. But anyway, it's hellish being out here if you want to run or do any of that. But getting back to the car. So I sold my car. I just didn't need it. I had it paid off. But just for these different reasons, I got rid of it. And I don't know. It just, I think for some people, it can be a little self-righteous. Like, I don't have a car. It reminds me of the old Onion story. The headline was like, area man can't stop telling people he doesn't own a television.
Oh, really?
Like, I told you I don't have a TV? I don't watch TV. Have I told you? And by the way, I'm not anti-cars. I like cars for the right purpose, although I think we should be driving way less than we do. And come on, let's walk, folks.
And it's funny because, so for you and I, and you're probably even more, you're even better as far as recycling and things like that. But for European standards, like Spanish and French standards.
Oh, we're all lazy.
We're lazy. Americans are horrible.
Well, when you said that, when we're talking about the banks,
Yeah.
those recycling, those giant
Oh yeah, yeah.
they're like 10 feet tall, these huge banks. And you'll see them if you watch like European like TV shows, and like they're just in the background.
They
And I'm
look like big domes.
and it dawned on me. It's like a jungle gym, right?
Yeah.
Size. And it dawned on me. I'm like, oh my god, we don't have any of that.
we don't have any of that.
And you go to Europe, and every country I think I've been to has them, and they're everywhere.
and there's a
people
bin
don't
for-
think about it. It's
It's
part of-
automatic.
it's part of what they do. Everyone recycles. I mean, generally speaking, of course. I do feel like it's an infrastructure, government resource thing, and it's just about awareness and education too.
I do it.
Man, we got real deep on this podcast.
Well, you know what I do? I do it when I'm there. I love participating. I love walking to the
It's
bin
fun.
and putting the bottles in the bottle recycling and hearing it clang in the bin and sorting all that stuff out. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I try. And I do those things. But then there are other things where I'm just very. It's like, man, there's just. It's difficult. It's really hard because if you try to get away from it, you can't. You want to buy some, I try to buy the tomatoes that are out of the packaging, but sometimes there's there's plastic packaging on everything. You can't get away from it. There were places that I saw that in Europe they did a couple of like bring your packaging back to the grocery store things. Where you just bring all your
like
plastic.
green initiatives.
Yeah, I know. It was almost a protest, I think.
Oh.
Like some sort of a protest thing.
Oh, I see.
Where like, you'd go home and unpack your whatever you bought and
Right.
bring all the plastic and dump it
It's
in
kind of like a visual illustration of this is what it looks like.
Oh, and the parking lot was filled with
Oh my
plastic.
God!
Like,
And
just
all that's going to
containers.
landfills in the ocean.
Yes, and this was just like like 2 days or a weekend or whatever it was. I mean, it wasn't over the span of like a month. This was like a weekend, and there was just like the parking lot was filled with plastics.
I know there have been photographers and videographers and other journalists and folks. I'm sure you've seen versions of this where they like examine their garbage for like a week or a month, and it's crazy when you start to look at it all and you spread it out like on your
Oh no, it's insane.
on your driveway.
Yeah.
Ryan's probably like, "What kind of podcast is this?"
What the hell? I thought they were talking about bicycles.
Are you a big recycler, Ryan?
Yeah, I try. I mean,
You have the bin, right?
two
Yeah.
bins, you gotta fill one up, and everyone's like, this is kind of recycling. Throw it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to make it a no-brainer.
The thing is, the society has to be down with it too, right? Ultimately, the consumer will decide what they're willing to take and not, and not. And I think if we were like willing to like go to the store and buy our fruit without any packaging, if we were all this prepackaged stuff, if everybody said no to it, they don't really care how they sell it. They just want to sell it. And granted, some of that stuff is cheap. It's cheap to produce because it's that's the way that the plastics make it that way, right?
Yep.
And people, but
And the reality is, a lot of them won't change until they're forced to,
yeah,
until they're taxed.
people don't want to pay more,
Right.
So that's the thing. It's like, well, you have to be willing to pay a little bit more because it's not coming in plastic and it's coming in a different material.
I want to look this up, or I might even do a story on this someday, maybe. But I want to know what the greenest bike companies are.
That would be
And which ones are the dirtiest.
That would be a really interesting thing. I mean, a big a little bit of a takedown on those companies, because I'll tell you right now, I don't think that there's a lot of really cool bike companies. They present themselves as cool. Their organizations present themselves as cool, but their bikes are showing up here with a ton of plastic and foam and tape and and zip ties and yeah. I mean, I'll shoot it. I'll post some pictures at some point of just one bicycle. Unpacking one bike, just the amount of foam and plastics and zip ties. It's enough to fill a quarter.
It'll turn your stomach if you really think about it, and then I didn't think we'd go this deep to this place on this.
Yeah,
podcast,
we're here in a bike shop, man.
but I've enjoyed it
It was
so
supposed
much.
to be fun and light, and we end up
got all
getting deep. Oh, we got one more customer coming in, and
Okay.
this might be the topper to the show. Oh, I know who that is. That's Dan.
So he's got a.
Is
that a mountain bike?
that is a mountain bike. That's an old Cannondale Killer V.
Bull horns.
Yes, that is a classic bike. We've been keeping that thing going
Beautiful.
for a long time.
Love it.
Look how fucking shiny it is.
Yeah, very shiny.
Yeah, that's a sweet bike.
Toe clips, bull horns.
I love keeping that thing going. We're gonna air that. Yeah,
Seriously, I fucking love my bike. I
that's a.
appreciate you and what you do to it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Huge compliment.
Well, you're on our podcast, so yeah. See, as we're official here, we've gotten into the world that we're broadcasting now.
And you got that CAD 3 hanging up there too. That's a beautiful.
Oh, we're a
Cannondale.
Cannondale dealer.
I love Cannondale.
I have a soft spot for Cannondale.
I love
for
Cannondale.
Cannondales. You know, they used to when they first came out in the world, they were shops that didn't sell Cannondale would call them crack and fails.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Crack and fail.
I've never heard that.
They did have a lot of trouble with frames cracking early on. You know, they were pushing the limits of aluminum. It was, aluminum can be a little brittle and stiff, and so there was a lot of breaking early on. But they were also the first company doing aluminum bikes. Nobody was doing aluminum.
Right.
Everything was steel.
With those huge oversized down tubes.
Yeah. So with the big tubes. I think Cannondale started as like a tent company. Like they made outdoor like camping gear and stuff. And,
Wow, I never knew that.
And then they expanded into bikes. But now, they're the company. Now everybody makes aluminum bikes. It turns out that is like you can't get a bike that's not aluminum. Basically, you can't buy a 6 or 7.
Yeah, if you want
bike.
steel, you kind of have to look around, go out of your way a little bit.
It's specialty or super cheap.
And then if you can afford it, there's carbon.
Hey, Dan, you want to come over real quick? I'll talk to you. Yeah. You don't mind? I didn't want to bother you. No, get a little closer to the mic there if you don't mind being on the podcast. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing good, Joe.
Yeah? How you been?
How long you been here, Joe? How many years?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've been here for 12 years. It's getting ready for the spring now, and all my regulars are coming in.
Yes.
Which is
everyone is like, okay, you know what? First 50-degree day, it's time to.
And it's funny because the bikes that are in, like I can tell you, I'm like, that's Jackie's bike, and that's Dan's bike, and that's Arnie's bike. So every bike that I see in here right now, they are people that ride their bike, like they are cyclists. They are hardcore. They're people that ride all year long, or try to ride as much as they can. But I recognize all the bikes that are in here by name, like who owns that bike, because it's early in the season. So it's it's guys like you who are getting in before the crowd shows up.
Before May or so when everybody's being flooded with 100 different tune-ups and flat tires and wipe the cobwebs off. But Joe, thank you for moving to the small hamlet of Willow Springs, Illinois.
Oh, thank you.
Your expertise to this tiny little community here that's surrounded by one of the most beautiful forest preserves.
It's beautiful here.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's beautiful around here, isn't it?
And the older you get, the harder it is to ride, though. There are some hills out here that old legs shouldn't be handling.
But the nice thing about cycling is that it's a sport that you can grow old with. In that it's not an impact sport. It's not gonna, it doesn't beat up your body. In fact, older folk that want to get into sport are told to ride bikes if they can, obviously, but because of the low impact knee, people who have knee replacements and hip replacements, one of the preferred exercises, even more so than walking, is to ride a bicycle.
You know what I got my eye on, Joe? The QB.
The QB?
What is it on late night TV?
What is the QB? What is it?
It's a small little wheel thingy that you can sit on your ass and you can
go. Oh, one of those little exercises, one of those little things, really? Look, maybe I'll carry them in the shop. So,
I think their slogan is "Get fit while you sit."
Oh.
Well, I don't know if that's possible. But.
Yeah, that's rough. How you doing, man? Everything good?
Doing okay, Joe.
You're getting ready for the season, right? You're kind of a season. You're in
are very cyclical. Yeah.
It's a seasonal gig, just like us.
Winter's off. We come back in spring and do it all over again.
What do you do?
So I work at a golf course. So and summer is my busy season, and as is the bicycle season.
Yeah. And what do you do? What do you do in the winters?
I decompress. I stay away from people. Smoke a lot of weed. Drink wine.
It's legal now, right? I mean,
stuff is so much better these days.
It is. It's pretty intense, isn't it?
It is. It's almost too intense.
Do you dispensary or are you still
dispensary?
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. I'll pay the taxes, whatever.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting. I look at the jar; it tells me what I'm getting. Like this right here. I know what I'm getting when I pull this out.
Oh, what
nice.
Good news!
2-to-1 disposable vape.
Oh, wow!
Peach flavored, and it's called Day Off. Isn't that?
Oh, that's so fitting.
Next, I brought this for you, brother. I normally bring you crappy beer.
Oh.
This time I brought you a nice healthy drink.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much. Cucumber avocado smoothie. That's awesome,
You
man.
reclaim your spot, my man.
It's all good.
Dan, it was good to see you. Yes, another Dan.
Beautiful bike.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
I love Cannondales.
I've been a big fan.
Yep.
Huge fan. Don't know much about the newer models, if they're still...
They're very sweet.
Okay.
Very sweet.
That bike there is probably close to 30 years old, 25 to 30 years old.
1992, I looked it up, Joe.
Yeah, so 30 years.
Years this year, holy cow.
Yeah.
Damn.
30 years old, man.
Even more.
Beautiful bike. Yeah.
Thank you. You don't see many of them like it, to be honest with you,
Nope.
anymore. The Delta V. It's, like I say, dear to my heart.
Yep.
Worth every penny I paid for it 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I bought it used.
Do you remember what you paid for it?
I gave the guy, he was about 3 years old at that point, I gave him $1,000. It was $2,000 new.
Back then, that was some real
Yeah,
coin.
it was real money.
1995 whenever I bought that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but bikes these days, they almost start at like $1,000 and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't get anything.
The higher end ones, obviously, but you can still get a nice bike for $500 each.
Right.
But when something's loyal to you, you stick with it. And
Great.
I'm a brand loyal person, and like I say, until that thing falls apart or kills me, I'll keep riding it.
There you go.
Awesome.
Gentlemen,
Hey,
have a great day. Joe, call me when you can.
absolutely. Ryan
Hey,
got
great to meet you,
I
Dan.
appreciate that, brother.
Ryan got your notes.
Yes, and thank you for your help. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
Then I'll be in touch this week, okay?
That's fine,
When
Joe.
I don't have a microphone in front of my face.
Not a big deal.
And then next time I'll have a microphone for you. A dedicated
Yeah.
microphone.
Nah,
The guest spot.
Yeah, the
Guest
guest
spot
mic.
in the hot seat.
you
yeah.
don't want to hear what I gotta say,
Oh yeah, no, for sure I do. For sure I do.
Joe.
All right, man.
Thank
I'll talk to you
guys.
soon.
Have a great afternoon. Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
care.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
And we didn't plan this at all. This is. All right, man. Take care. All right, we'll see you.
You know, in hindsight, it would have been cool to do one outside. Although,
It's a little
would you have
chilly
like,
out there.
yeah, it's a little chilly. In the sun, it was pretty nice for a while. But would there be too much background noise, or is there a way around
It's
that?
a little background noise. I mean, probably clean some of that. It's better in here. And it is a little chilly. I'd rather do it in here actually.
Yeah,
It's just kind of cool when people walk in like that.
yeah. This is like a different.
It's a
the
different vibe,
format.
right?
It feels like very
Like it
going with
has a
the
whole different
flow.
thing going on. Well, I mean, and we've, I think if you listen to some of the early podcasts, we may have mentioned that we wanted to do this in the shop, and this is, you're starting to. Hopefully, you'll feel a little of what we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
I like that customer interaction, and most of my like Dan, he's a regular. He's somebody who's I know him by name, and I know his bike, and cool people.
Yeah.
Just he's willing to go along with it, and and go with the flow. I have a lot of customers like that.
You get to know your community. I mean, there probably aren't a lot of places these days, especially pandemic, obviously. But, where you can, where would you? I'm thinking like supermarket if you were a church going person, maybe, but bar. But where would you kind of go to kind of run in and get to know your community? This is a great spot for it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Coffee shops, I guess, or maybe have a little of that.
They're a little
vibe
hit or
going on.
miss.
Yeah, maybe too many.
A lot of people on laptops and whatever.
The bike, it's still pretty specific, and especially at this time of the year, we're not in season yet. It's a 50 degree
But
day.
pretty rare, yeah.
In February in the Chicago area, which is rare, but it's enough to put bicycles in the head of people who ride bikes. They're like, oh, you know what? Better get it in before they know to get it in before the crowd hits, and they also want to be ready for the first nice stretch of weather.
So they could just hit it.
Yeah, that could be 2 weeks from now. It could be another month, but it's coming, and so this is enough to wake people up. And then the other group of people are woken up by like a stretch of 60-degree days. That's when the crowds really start showing up. That's when you start, and even that first bunch of people. They tend to be riders. They tend to be people who use those bikes throughout the season. And it's a funny thing. If, like if we get that nice stretch of days in March early April, then it's going to be a good bike season. Not only because it kind of lights, it gets people going and it gets people thinking about bikes earlier in the year. So you get that little burst of bikes.
Is this like the Puxatawny Phil thing?
It is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. And then some people, like you were saying, it's almost like every 10 degrees, there's a new layer of folks who come out. Some folks don't want to go out until it's like 70 or 80. Whereas I'm like, I'll go out when it's cold, but I don't want to go out when it's 90.
Yeah, but see, you're a cyclist.
Right, so, but I'm saying, but also I'm very fair skinned, so I don't want to go out when it's like 90 and humid, which obviously in Chicago we can get a lot of.
Yeah, there's a
summer.
whole stretch. There's a whole stretch of summer that can be that way.
And that period, I'll go out early or late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know you like it.
I like the heat.
You love the sun.
I do. All right, so that's been fun, Danny.
Unbelievable.
That was
that was a tour of something. That was a tour de force.
It was an action-packed podcast.
I didn't see that one coming.
No, well, I mean, when you throw the doors of the bicycle shop open up crack some microphones, you don't know what's going to happen. And
that was great. That was so much fun.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Ciao.
And we will be. Hold on a second. Let me.
Back some other time.
Yes, we'll be back. All right. Say goodbye, Danny.
See ya.